The moment she said the words, "Your house is out of compliance," something inside me snapped, not anger, not fear, but a deep, old irritation I thought I buried decades ago. Because this wasn't just a house. This was the home I built with my own 2 hands in 1984, before the HOA, before Karen, before the neighborhood changed from a quiet, friendly place into a battlefield of petty rules and ridiculous citations. I built this house when my wife was pregnant with our first child. I laid the foundation with a rented cement mixer. I put up every stud, ran every wire, and hammered every shingle. This house held memories, my kids' height marks on the kitchen doorway. The oak floors I refinished after my wife passed. The porch swing my daughter insisted we keep even when it squeaked like a rusty hinge. Everything here was mine, built by me, owned by me, loved by me. So, when Karen, the newest tyrant in a long line of HOA dictators, marched onto my property with her clipboard like she was Moses delivering commandments, I knew the day was headed straight toward trouble. It started just as I finished mowing the lawn. I cut it every Saturday morning at 8 a.m., the same routine I've had for years. Sweat soaked my shirt, the mower still cooling behind me. When I heard the sound of heels clicking sharply down the driveway, didn't even have to turn around. Only one person in the neighborhood walked like she was leading a military parade. "Mr. Thompson," she snapped, "we need to talk." I turned slowly. Karen stood there, in her perfectly pressed HOA polo shirt, hair sprayed into a helmet, lips pursed like she was sucking on a lemon. "What now?" I asked. She lifted her clipboard like it was a weapon. "Your home is officially out of compliance." I stared at her. Out of compliance. With what? This house was built before the HOA even existed. I said, "It's grandfathered. You can't touch it." She smirked. "That's where you're wrong." She flipped a page dramatically. Section 8C, Architectural Uniformity Standards. I laughed. Out loud. "Karen, that was added in 2004. I've lived here for 40 years. Well, the board has decided older homes must now be reviewed to ensure community cohesion." Community cohesion. I repeated. "What is this? A cult?" Karen ignored me, stepping forward and pointing at my house, like she was identifying crime scene evidence. "Your shutters are an outdated color. Your porch railing is not the approved design. The brick tone doesn't match the neighborhood aesthetic. Your driveway width is none, and your roofline, my roofline." I cut in. "Karen, I literally designed this roof myself." "Exactly," she snapped. "That's the problem." I blinked slowly. "Ma'am, did you just say the problem is that I built my own house?" She nodded firmly. "We prefer homes constructed under regulated architectural oversight. Improvised structures like yours tend to lack aesthetic symmetry." Improvised? Improvised. This house had survived hurricanes, 2 tornado seasons, and 38 winters. If anything was improvised, it was her haircut. I exhaled slowly. "Karen, unless you plan to demolish a 40-year-old custom-built home, you have nothing." "Oh, but I do." She held up a bright pink violation notice. "Multiple known compliance items. You have 30 days to fix them or we escalate." I didn't take the paper. I didn't even look at it. I just stared at her until she shifted uncomfortably. "Karen," I said in a low voice, "before the HOA even bought their first filing cabinet, I was building this place board by board. I know every nail, every beam, every tile, and you're going to stand here and pretend you know more about my home than I do." She lifted her chin. "Yes, because I have the authority." "No," I said. "You have a clipboard." Her eyes flashed with fury. "Fine, be difficult. I'll be back with documentation." She stumped away as if her sandals were made of bricks. My neighbor, Mark, came out of his garage across the street. "Let me guess," he said. "She's starting again." "Round 3, I muttered. "What is it this time?" "Your mailbox. The grass height, the color of your welcome mat." "No," I said. "Apparently my entire house is out of compliance." Mark blinked. "Your house? The one you built?" "Yep," he whistled. "She's lost it completely." But I knew better. Karen wasn't crazy. Karen was calculating. She had been trying for months to force older homeowners to update their homes, mostly so she could sell the neighborhood as modern for higher resale value, and she'd been waiting for the right resident to test her limits on. Unfortunately for her, she picked the wrong man, because I wasn't just a homeowner. I was the original builder, and I kept everything: blueprints, permits, construction records, photos, even the original county approval stamped in blue ink from June 12, 1984. If she wanted a fight, I was going to give her a war. 2 days later, the real escalation began. I woke up to the sound of voices outside. Karen and 2 board members pacing in front of my driveway. They were pointing at my shutters, my porch swing, my gutters, taking photos, whispering like they were investigating a crime scene. I walked out with my coffee. "Morning." Karen didn't look at me. "We're conducting an architectural assessment." "On private property?" She smirked. "The HOA has jurisdiction." "No," I said slowly, "you do not." She ignored me, scribbling notes. Then she snapped a picture of my porch swing. I stopped her. "What's wrong with the swing?" "It creaks," she said, "and it creates auditory disruption. It squeaks a little. It squeaks enough for us to notice." I stared at her in disbelief. Karen, you do realize wood swings squeak, right? She clicked her pen. Not approved ones. My jaw dropped. She continued the inspection, marking everything as non-compliant: the outdoor lamp, the brick pattern, even the shape of my window trims. When she reached my oak tree, she actually took a picture of it. The tree, I said, baffled. It's not symmetric with the yard. She said, it's a tree. It disrupts visual balance. Karen, it was planted by my wife. She paused, then cleared her throat awkwardly. Well, it is still a violation. That's when I smiled, not sarcastically, not angrily, just calmly, because now she'd crossed a different kind of line. I went inside, opened my old wooden box, and pulled out everything I needed: the blueprints, original permits, county grandfathering documents, and the state development exemption statute from the early 80s. And I made 4 calls, 1 to county zoning, 1 to the state building commission, 1 to my lawyer who specializes in HOA overreach, and 1 to an old friend who works as a local housing inspector. By 3 p.m., a county truck arrived. By 3:05, Karen was sweating. By 3:10, she realized she had messed up bigger than she ever had before. The county inspector stepped onto my porch. Afternoon, John, heard you've got an HOA problem. Karen marched up immediately. This property is in violation. He raised a hand. Ma'am, I haven't even begun, she huffed. Well, you'll see what I mean. The inspector looked at my house, then at me. Is this the home from '84? Yep, he nodded. Thought so. My father helped issue the permits back then. Karen's face drained of color. The inspector walked around the house, checking details with a practiced eye. Brickwork intact, original shutters, handcrafted porch railing, custom dormer windows. Everything here is in excellent condition. No violations, Karen sputtered. But the HOA has no jurisdiction over pre-HOA construction, he interrupted, especially one stamped under the state's development grandfather clause. The what? She whispered. He crossed his arms. This home is legally untouchable by HOA standards. Its design is protected exactly as it was built. Karen blinked rapidly. But, and he continued. Your attempt to force modernization on a protected property could be considered harassment. The clipboard nearly slipped from her hands. He turned to me. You're good here. Call me if they bother you again. Karen was visibly shaken. It's just one house. It ruins the cohesion. The inspector gave her a tired look. Ma'am, this house was here before your HOA existed. It's OLD. She cried. It's legal. He said, and that was the end of it. Or so I thought, because Karen never backs down gracefully. She backs down violently, like a dying firework exploding in every direction. That night, she emailed the entire neighborhood claiming my ancient house threatened property values. She said older homes bring pests, foundation risks, and structural dangers to the community. Neighbors forwarded me the email instantly, most adding, "This woman has lost her mind. She's obsessed with your house. Need help fighting her." I didn't respond. I didn't have to, because the county inspector forwarded Karen's emails to the State Architectural Review Board, who then forwarded them to the county attorney. Turns out, singling out one homeowner and spreading false claims is considered discriminatory targeting, and HOAs are legally vulnerable to that. By the end of the week, Karen was required to attend a conduct remediation hearing. It went horribly. For her, the board voted 7-2-0-2, remove her as president, suspend her from all HOA duties, fine her for improper enforcement, issue an apology to me, and that apology delivered on my porch, face red, hands trembling, voice shaky. She wouldn't even look me in the eyes. I apologize for incorrectly stating your home was out of compliance, she muttered. That's not all, I said politely. She swallowed. And for filing unauthorized assessments, and sending misleading emails, and I asked. She hesitated. And for overstepping HOA authority, I nodded. Accept it. She scurried off like a frightened squirrel. That night, I sat on the porch swing, the same non-compliant one she hated on, listened to it creak softly as the sun set. I looked at the house I built with my own 2 hands. Every brick, every shingle, every board. It stood strong in 1984. It stood strong through storms and seasons. And it stood strong, now stronger than any HOA rule. Stronger than Karen's ego, stronger than the nonsense she tried to throw at me. And I whispered to myself, this house isn't just compliant, it's legendary. Karen learned something she'll never forget. You don't challenge a man about the home he built with his own hands. You certainly don't try to rewrite history. And you definitely don't try to control something older, stronger, and more lawful than your clipboard. She claimed my house was out of compliance. But she was the one out of her depth.